Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. So excited to welcome back today's guest. You guys know her as Melissa on Yellowjackets, Jenna Burgess. Thank you, Jenna, so much for your time today and coming back.
Oh, thanks for having me, Pat. I'm so happy to be back with you.
You're very welcome. We got a lot to talk about. What a crazy season for your particular character. I can only
Yeah.
imagine the wild journey that you kind of went on while finding out about this information and then filming the whole season.
Yeah, I think Wild Journey is like the best way to possibly put it. It was kind of like a slow progression of just learning things and yeah, it was a wild journey.
Yeah, and I'll give you guys a heads up. Obviously, I'm assuming most of you guys, if you're watching this, that you've seen the whole season, but we're gonna dive into spoilers. So I just want to give that warning at the top of things. But yeah, can Jenna, just to start, can you talk about your reaction, I guess, when you first found out kind of what Melissa's storyline was going to be for this season and just kind of
Yeah.
reading through the scripts and stuff?
I mean, it happened separately. So I was asked to come back for this season, and pretty soon into pre-production, I got the first two scripts. I got one a little bit before, and I was like, oh, there's something interesting here between Melissa and Shauna. I'm not quite sure what it's gonna be. But there were some hints. I'm like, okay, I think might have like eyes for her or whatever. But I was like, I'm not gonna go too much that way if that's not the case. Um, and then I got two, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, no, I was correct. So I got both of those before we started filming one, which was nice. And then so from there, I was like, hmm. The way two ended, I was like, something's fishy here.
Where's this going?
I asked about it. I think I talked Bart in circles for like 40 minutes in a meeting because at that point they weren't able to disclose anything too much about it. And I'm like, so am I alive? Am I dead? Like, it's either like I'm very much alive or this is like the biggest red herring ever. So I kind of just pushed it to the back of my mind. Obviously wasn't getting an answer. In the and then Jonathan came and directed three. And before we started three, Jonathan and I sat down for a meeting, and Jonathan's and Bart are two of our showrunners for anyone who does not know. So yeah, I had a meeting with Jonathan, and then that's where he was basically like, so we're gonna do adult Melissa. But that was basically it. That was the meeting. There was no who, there was no when. Um, I just was told adult Melissa at some point this season. And so like I think 4 to 5 scripts go by. I'm like, okay, where is this girl? Where is she? And then I think I think it was Steven's death party. I was sick, so I didn't end up going. And I remember being
Uh,
sick in bed. And it was so close to when we were about to film eight. And at that point, I had gotten the script for eight. So I had read it and I was like, okay, who are you though? Who's playing adult Melissa? And then um, I think at Steven's party, rumors started to speculate on who it was. And I got a phone call from a cast member when they were on their way home, being like, "Okay, I think it's Hilary Swank, but don't quote me on that." And then Monday morning, showed up to work, and one of the producers pulled me aside and was like, "So you know?" And I was like, "Yeah,
yeah, I can only imagine your reaction to finding one. I mean, one finding out that your character was alive because, like you said, had
yeah." I
no
mean,
clue.
could
But
have could have
then,
fooled me.
but then to find out that you have Hilary Swank playing the adult version of your character, I'm sure that just must have been mind blowing for you.
Yeah, I mean, I was just shocked the whole way through the season. I mean, my mom kept saying you're drinking from a fire hose because the information was slow, but I'm so slow to compute things. And so there were so many episodes in the middle there that we were filming, and a lot of cast members in between takes would be like, so do you know who it is? Do you know who it is? And I think they were reaching out to people, and I think they were also holding auditions. So it just was, and I was like, no, 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 like I can't think about that
Yeah.
because I mean it's TV too. Like things can just change at the drop of a hat in TV world. So I was like, also, I mean, in terms of the work, whether Melissa or died, when you're playing the person who's in the past, it doesn't really affect the way I was going to approach any of the scenes for the most part. So I really just buried it somewhere. in my head in the back. And honestly, I don't think I opened that box until the show started airing. I I had a few friends message me at the end of two who just assumed that was the announcement that I was alive and being like, congrats. And I was like, well, what do you know? Doesn't mean anything. Trying to like hold the
You know more than
suspense.
I do.
Yeah, I was like, wait, maybe. But yeah, so it's just been like this slow progression of finding out things, and then I left it all for February to deal with it. So
And now I'm curious for you too. Have you had a chance to actually speak to Hillary yet up to this point?
yeah, yeah. We were able to get together. So the way we film, um, especially this season, is oftentimes that like the teens will be working and then the adults will be working, and so it's a lot of it's not like season two where we were in a studio and we would be kind of filming at the same time. You'd see each other in the hallways and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, it feels like very two separate sets. And so I was able to get to the set that the adults were working on, which is Melissa's house, um, shortly, actually, at the beginning of nine. So I hadn't met her before she started eight, just because both of our schedules, and she's coming in from out of town, and I'm working in the wilderness. So it didn't really work out until after nine. But it was kind of funny because we sat down and started talking and just getting to know each other and some more about like personal things than anything.
Yeah.
But a producer walked by and was like, "Oh, is this the first time you're meeting?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, that's crazy because she's whatever she's doing mannerism wise has been picking up on what you're doing, and I thought you guys had talked." And we're like,
That's
"No,
pretty
this is the
cool.
first time." So I think, and hopefully, if we're able to get a season four, we would love to talk again.
Yeah.
But it was while we were filming nine, and I was able to just kind of give her some tidbits, and yeah,
Yeah, I'm glad that you guys were able to at least, connect because I wasn't sure because I'd heard just from different interviews and stuff like that that it seemed like well at first she didn't show up until later on in the season. So I was like, yeah, I wasn't
yeah,
sure if you
yeah.
guys had that chance to connect or not. So I mean, I'm glad that you did. Obviously, a bunch of your scenes this season are with Sophie. So can you just talk
Mhm.
about, working with her and developing that dynamic and relationship between your characters? Because man, that is a roller coaster ride throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, Sophie's great. We've become really good friends over the course of the season as well. And coming into season three and knowing where the dynamic was going to start off, where it was new and awkward and stuff, I was like, well, I'm not going to send Sophie a text right now being like, let's become best friends and right before we start filming this. I
Yeah.
mean, we had been friends and coworkers for a year and a half prior, but obviously, when you're working really closely with someone, that relationship off screen grows as well. And so I just kind of left it where it was. I mean, mind you, we only had so much time when you get scripts and then you're kind of on set very shortly after. So I was like, based on how it was happening in the script, I was like, I actually kind of just want to not do too much before. Um, because I think that like newness between us on camera would breathe on screen better.
Yeah.
And it's meant to be kind of this novel thing and it's meant to be a bit awkward. So I'm like, I'm actually just gonna let that be. Had Sophie come to me for anything, obviously, yeah. But I mean, we chatted very like briefly about it, but I think we were both ready to just kind of put it on camera the way it was. And then, as the characters kind of grow, we grew together and I mean, at the end of it, we were just this really great dynamic between the two. The way we'd be able to like work out scenes together was really cool and awesome. And so, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, you
it's
guys go through a lot.
yeah, such a dream to work with her. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a shout out to her too. She was a powerhouse this
Oh,
season. Just the
absolutely.
so the scenes between you guys, even the individual scenes like with her with other characters. But no, now so I want to get your take on this. Do you think that Melissa was was there part of her that actually did truly like Shauna, or was this more of about survival for Melissa? Because I have seen theories where people thought that getting closer to Shauna because where she was kind of a powerhouse in the group, and so this is more about survival.
Mhm.
But I want to get your take on that.
I think it's a really nuanced answer. And I think especially given the fact that we now have Melissa 25 years in the future, it kind of makes that even more so. I would say that in teen Melissa's brain, she really likes her. She really grows to like her over the course of the season, and obviously that spans several months for them.
Yep.
Um, so in her mind, what she's doing is falling in love. But I can see how 25 years later you can look back on that and be like, oh, that was not love. But I don't think that it depends on your definition of love, you know?
Yeah.
Because I truly believe that as you grow, that definition can change. And as people come in and out of your life, you can kind of reflect back on. Melissa has nothing really to reflect back on. I don't know anything about her home life or whatever. I know that she has a good friend, Jen, and stuff. So I'm like, okay, so she does have the like substance to have a good relationship with someone prior to that, but it's not.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I would say yes. If you're wanting the short answer, yes, of course. But I think it's very muddied, and obviously it is layered with that idea of survival. Like I think explicitly she's like, I like you and I want to be around you to Shauna. I think there is this implicit reaction to survival that she's not really cognizant of.
Yeah.
Me as the actor, I can kind of be like, okay, this might be fueling it a little bit at the beginning. Um, but for her, it's not gonna resonate to her like that. She's also 17. So, and she's, this is new. There's also no one like checking her the whole way through. It's just this like
Very true.
Pavlovian like cause and effect thing where like Shauna gives her an inch and she takes the mile and she's like, great.
Yeah. And one of the scenes, or there was a couple moments between you guys that I wanted to talk about specifically, is the moment where you guys kind of have that emotional exchange in episode 9, which it leads to Shauna shooting at Melissa. Was very where it got to that point, it was like uncomfortable to watch. And so can you just kind of like break down that exchange between you guys? Because I feel like a lot went into filming that whole scene where you guys are going back and forth and Shauna just telling her like you were nothing before you met me.
I know we were really excited to do it because both of us had read 8 with the adults, and we were like, oh, that would have been so cool if that was us. I think I was at the point where I was like ready to kind of change the tide with Melissa and be a bit more combative to Shauna. So when I saw that come up in the script, I was like, okay, thank God. Um, I'm ready. I also knew this end of the arc was coming, but I had no context for it. So I knew Melissa would stand up for herself in some way, shape, or form. So I mean, the theater kid in me wanted to film all 3 scenes back to back to back in one take.
Jeez.
Because I love starting off with Hannah, and then you get like, and it's this really nice scene where for the first time, this season, you just see Melissa having a real conversation, because she's not so in her head about how are these words sounding, and to the point where it just sounds like there's rocks in your mouth kind of thing. She's actually just having a normal conversation. So that was really nice, and then it evolves into this like huge breakup um a scene. So we filmed the thing with Hannah. We filmed a week after we filmed the first 2. So Sophie and I, we filmed in the hut first. And then we did the external bits. And that was kind of fun for us too, because for so much of the season, we'd been filming separately from everyone else. So a lot of our scenes were just two-hander scenes, and then you see a lot of us by the river and stuff. So that was just me and her. And then this was one of the first times that we had a couple pages of dialogue between us, and we had quite literally had an audience of our peers.
That must
And
have been
so
fun.
yeah, and I remember like the moment where Melissa's just looking out into the crowd, and she's looking at Britt and Natalie and kind of all the characters that are standing to that side and Jen, and she's looking around, and I'm just like taking in their like almost their pity, and I'm like, oh, like yeah.
It's a lot.
It was very heavy. A lot of pants had to be changed. Um, and it's kind of it's a tragedy is what it is that
Yeah.
it's that way because I think in Melissa's head she was living out this like romance, even though I mean, anyone watching it would be like, these poor things. Like, a lot of my comments after 2 aired was like, man, I can't believe how much game Melissa has, like thousands. And I was like, well, I kind of played it in the sense that she didn't have any game because Shauna's so broken that the only reason why this has started is because she has no game and she's going after someone who's so broken that just went, hell yeah. And then it just kind of evolves. And I think they did get to really care for each other, but it just never on the same wavelength and never in the capacity that the other person needed them to be.
Yep.
And so I think Melissa would have loved this to just be the love story of her life. And I guess maybe in a way it is not perfect and it's,
Yeah, it was
yeah.
truly a heartbreaking scene to watch for sure, and just yeah, I mean, just especially some of the insults that Shauna was like throwing at her. It's like me as an audience member, like God, that hurts. So I guess going from that scene, then going to the finale where you guys had that confrontation where you tackle Shauna and Melissa is getting ready to pretty close to killing her, but then at the last second decides not to. Can you break down filming that a little bit and why do you think that? Because obviously we know Shauna's alive in the current timeline. Why do you think that she decides not to do it?
That's a really good question. That was in the script. It was such a short little blip.
Oh wow,
Um, Twice, and it ended up being my favorite thing to film of the whole season, just because I love stunt work, and Sophie and I got to roll around in the fake snow, and it was fun. I'm there's when you have my close-ups, when yeah, here I actually had a stunt double beneath me because our director wanted us so unhinged in this that I was so worried I would lose control and actually hurt Sophie.
yeah,
So I asked for a stuntie, and so Sophie was saying her lines off camera. And I think for Melissa, story-wise, I mean, she had been on this quest for power throughout. I mean, if you think about like teenage dynamics and like social environments, like she really is the tried and true outsider. I mean, she's an outsider in the show. She's an outsider to the audience of the show. Um, and so she just wants to belong. And so that's one of the things that's been infused into this dynamic with Shauna is that it's kind of like putting her up several steps in this like hierarchy. Um, and I mean, she kind of says it in the trial, like it is a bit of power, but I don't think she realizes that for herself. I'd be curious if down the line, um, that was something adult Melissa was more frank with, but
yeah.
teen Melissa, now it's over her head. But she has the power to kill Shauna in that moment, and I think for the first time, I mean, not to like give you the cheesiest pun ever, but she does feel the power in that moment.
No,
And I think it frightens her. It frightens her, and she does not want it in that sense. It came on too fast and too strong, and she's like, I have the power to kill you. I also like she was part of the group that was trying to um kill Shauna, and at that point the horn sounded, so she knows it's likely Mari who's dead, and that was never part of their plan. Like they never like no one was supposed to die, so she's emotional because the horn sounds, and she knows that although her and Mari aren't super close, they were kind of in on this together, and I think it's a lot to deal with for any person.
yeah.
So it's like I have the power to kill you, and I can't do it because this is too much.
The finale was so just we'll end with this last question just to wrap things up for you, Jenna. The finale, I mean, was so satisfying as a fan who's been watching the show for 3 seasons. I know a lot of people loved it because we got a bunch of different reveals, Pick Girl and things like that. Can you just talk a little bit about what it felt like for you guys being actors on the show to finally be filming some of these scenes that fans have been waiting for these past couple of years?
It was really satisfying. I think a lot of us had fun going back to the pilot and being like, "Oh, that's me." Like for me, I'm like, "Nah, I've been in the pilot the whole time." I was stoked to be the bunny rabbit. So that was just fun because like I watched that as a fan of the show, and the first time I ever consumed that season, I didn't realize I was watching myself, or
That's
my character, I guess. So it was fun to just kind of even just watch how they're sitting on the log. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like, I'm obviously like the person who was in the bunny mask before is actually very, very short. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna like try to,
understand.
I'm like, I think all of us were like, okay, we're gonna try to make this as like real as we can for the fans because we're also fans of it. And it felt, I mean, it was just so fun to see Sophie walking around in the Antler Queen costume um, and just kind of look around to see who was going to be who. I mean, if you look at the pictures of the stunt doubles who were doing it in the pilot, the one that has on Jen's costume looks exactly like Vanessa Prasad through here. So
Yeah,
I'm like, they must have just zoomed it and like been like, oh, that's her. And we were laughing because I was like, how was that? How did no one just like assume that would probably be you? Because like the brow line was like just like accurate.
perfect. Yeah,
So yeah, and it was fun looking at the pit and all of that. It was just fun piecing it together, also knowing what was happening off camera too, to fill
yeah,
in all those gaps of how this all comes together. And it's kind of cool. We're at a spot where there's still some time left in the wilderness, and it's like, what now?
yeah.
Um,
And we
which is
know
very exciting.
Yeah, we know shit's about to hit the fan, but I got to wrap up here, Jenna. But I just want to say thank you so much for your time again. It was wonderful having you back on the show, getting to break down the season. Like I said, it was very exciting getting to see your character get expanded out. And of course, you're welcome back anytime in the future. And fingers crossed, we get that season 4 announcement soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Pat.